warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Excellencies, honorable guests, distinguished delegates, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. The Honorable Rector and Vice Rector Universitas Negeri Padang, Dean and Vice Dean in Universitas Negeri Padang, all the participants of the 9th Padang International Conference on Economics, Education, Business and Accounting, PICEEBA 2022. It is a great honor and pleasure for me. My name is Hari Setia Putra, and on behalf of the committee, we would like to welcome to all of you for the annual session of the 9th Padang International Conference on Economics, Education, Business and Accounting, PICEEBA 2022. Our invited keynote speakers, Associate Professor Dr. Zulfan Tajuddin from Western Sydney University, Australia, Associate Professor Dr. Ali Meftah Gurgut from De Montfort University, United Kingdom, Assistant Professor Dr. Marwan from Universitas Negeri Padang, Indonesia, Dr. Siti Noratisah binti Muhammad Nafi from University Utara Malaysia. For the following agenda, it will be the Holy Quran recitation by Ainaya Al-Fatihah.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A'udzu billahi minasy syaithanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Inna hadzal Qur'ana yahdi lillati hiya aqwam wa yubashshirul mu'minin الذين يعملون الصالحات أن لهم أجرا كبيرا وأن الذين لا يؤمنون بالآخرة أعتدنا لهم عذابا أليما ويدعو الإنسان بالشر دعاءه بالخير وكان الإنسان عجولا وكان الإنسان عجولا صدق الله العظيم. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Without further ado, we would like to invite Assistant Professor Dr. Doni Satria as the conference chair to read the official report of the 9th PICEEBA 2022.
Thank you, Hari. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Rector and Vice Rectors Universitas Negeri Padang, Dean and Vice Dean Faculty of Economics, and all of the deans at Universitas Negeri Padang, the distinguished our invited speakers, the excellencies, authors, and participants. I would like to extend my warmest welcome to the 9th Padang International Conference on Education, Economic, Business, and Accounting. Firstly, all praise is due to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, who has bestowed our pleasures for the health, the opportunities, and the happiness we'll feel today. Without His mercy, it is impossible for all of us to join here. Secondly, salawat and greetings remain poured to the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who has been guiding us on the path of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Today, I also would like to express my deep gratitude to all the committees who have worked hard, sacrificed their time, and take the risk out of the comfort zone during this pandemic era. It is an honor for me to be here on this occasion because the 9th PICEEBA is the 5th virtual international conference held by the Faculty of Economics, Universitas Negeri Padang. At this conference, we have more than 60 papers were registered with more than 1,000 participants from various regions. However, the preparation and implementation of this conference are not free from various weaknesses, which causes inconvenience for all. As the chairman of the committee, I apologize for this inconvenience. Finally, I'm looking forward to seeing you again on another occasion in the near future. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Among this time, we would like to invite Rektor Universitas Negeri Padang, Professor Ganefri, PhD, to convey acknowledgement and officially open for the 9th PICEEBA 2022.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Your Excellency, the keynote speaker of Padang International Conference on Education, Economic, Business, and Accounting, Dean of Faculty of Economic Universitas Negeri Padang, and Dean all of faculties in Universitas Negeri Padang, the Chairman, Committee, and all participants of Padang International Conference on Education, Economic, Business, and Accounting. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues. I want to thank everyone here today for being a part of this prestigious event. As a rector, it is a tremendous honor to bring together the outstanding and high-level speakers on this agenda and welcome delegates and participants from worldwide. On behalf of University Padang, I welcome all of you to the 9th Padang International Conference on Education, Economic, Business, and Accounting The emergence of a pandemic in the last 2 years had a significant impact on every sector of our lives. The activities that we used to do today have changed and formed a much different scheme and model. One of the significant steps that can maintain the continuity of these activities in the field of technology as a manifestation of continuous innovation. Face-to-face meeting can now be replaced by teleconferencing. The distance education process is no longer difficult for each segment of learners. In the economic sector, there is economic growth due to the emergence of e-commerce that support business units from various sectors. As the world recovers from the current pandemic with a level of vigilance against new variants of the virus that may emerge, this presents various opportunities for developing strategic sectors such as education, economic, and business. Innovation in these fields can be a leap that will significantly impact the future of every nation in the world. This innovation is also a recovery challenge that must be faced to move to the post-pandemic economic state. The World Economic Outlook International Monetary Fund, or IMF, 2022 state that every nation should be ready to deal with the challenges of the post-pandemic This innovation is also a recovery challenge that must be faced to move to the post-pandemic economic state. The World Economic Outlook International Monetary Fund, IMF, 2022 states that every nation should be ready to deal with the challenges of the post-pandemic economy, which are reversing. The pandemic induced setback to human capital accumulation, facilitate new growth opportunities related to green technology and digitalization, reduce inequality, and ensure sustainable public finance. With readiness and resilience to face the post-pandemic phase, with readiness and resilience to face the post-pandemic phase, it is estimated that there will be an increase in world GDP by 3.6% and 5.4% in the ASEAN region. A leap is needed through effective, efficient, and sustainable innovation to achieve this. As a nation that plays an active role in the recovery of the world economy through innovation leaps, Indonesia is also committed to developing more inclusive, productive digital literacy and skills so that this becomes an agenda for digital-based economic transformation. In addition, optimizing and empowering creative entrepreneurs based on local wisdom by implementing technology and promoting sustainable development is also focus, which is a national strategic step in economic recovery. Universitas Negeri Padang also takes a strategic role in accelerating economic recovery by giving the various innovative ideas and finding is the field of education, economic, and business that have a national and international impacts. Therefore, this is the time for us to develop and exchange creative and futuristic ideas through this activity. We hope that these extraordinary ideas will emerge from every researcher, practitioner, stakeholder, and various parties involved in this international conference. Ladies and gentlemen, on this occasion, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the Faculty Economic Universitas Negeri Padang and the organizing committee who have organized this event. This event is an excellent opportunity for us to introduce ourselves to an international research community. I am grateful to the many experts who have come to share their knowledge, and welcome to representatives to government and NGO association who have joined us. I'm sure you will have fruitful and rewarding exchange in the next few days. I wish you every success with this conference, and I look forward to learning about the outcome. Finally, on behalf of Universitas Negeri Padang, I officially open the 9th Padang International Conference on Education, Economic, Business, and Accounting. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
For closing the opening summary with blessings, we would like to invite Assistant Professor Dr. Zul Afdal to lead the dua recitation.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ladies and gentlemen, let us bow our head for a moment, pray to God Allah Azza wa Jalla that the conference will be blessed. I will lead this prayer based on the teaching of Islam, and those who are not Muslim, you are blessed to pray according to each of your belief. We start with istighfar 3 times. Astaghfirullahal azim alladzi la ilaha illa huwal hayyul qayyum wa atubu ilaih. Astaghfirullahal azim alladzi la ilaha illa huwal hayyul qayyum wa atubu ilaih. Astaghfirullahal azim alladzi la ilaha illa huwal hayyul qayyum wa atubu ilaih. A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Hamdan syakirin, hamdan na'imin, hamdan yuafi ni'amahu wa yukafi mazidah. Ya Rabbana lakal hamdu kama yanbaghi li jalali wajhikal karim wa azimi sultanik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad. Allahumma rabbana zalamna anfusana wa illam taghfir lana wa tarhamna lanakunanna minal khasirin. Allahumma ighfir lana wa liwalidina warhamhuma kama rabbayana shighara wa li ikhwanina wa li jawadatina wa li jami'il muslimina wal muslimat wal mu'minina wal mu'minat al ahya'i minhum wal amwat innaka as-sami'un qaribun mujibud da'wat wa ya qadiyal hajat bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Ya Allah, ya Rahman, ya Rahim. Today in this room we gather here to bring about the 9th Padang International Conference on Education, Economics, Business and Accounting with the theme live to the imminent future, seizing opportunities in education, economic, and business. Make this international conference as a useful sense absolutely, as a medium of sharing useful ideas, knowledge, and experiences of scholars, researchers, and students of various disciplines. May the conference we organize today benefit to our life, broaden our knowledge, center our ideas, and lead us to be successful, productive person, which in turn will boost dignity of our nation. Allahumma arinal haqqa haqqa warzuqna ittiba'ah wa arinal batila batilan warzuqna ijtinabah. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim. So as the truth as true, and inspire us to follow it. So as falsehood, and inspire us to abstain from it. Ya Allah, help me remember you, to be grateful to you, and to worship you in excellent manner. Allahumma a'inni ala dhikrika wa thukrika wa husni ibadatik. Ya Allah, you are the one who can fulfill our dua. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina azaban nar. Subhanaka rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun alal mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to invite our moderator for plenary session, Assistant Professor Dr. Eka Fauzi Hardani. Time is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hari. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
The Honorable Rector and Vice Rector of Universitas Negeri Padang, and then the Honorable Dean and Vice Dean of Universitas Negeri Padang, our incredible inviting speaker, and then guests, and also all participants for this conference. Welcome to the plenary session. This is the 9th Padang International Conference on Education, Economic, Business, and Accounting of PICEEBA. And this is the series of our the series of our international conference. Ladies and gentlemen, in this series, we have the issue of live to the imminent future, seizing opportunities in education, economic, and business. And ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce, we have four incredible speakers today. Associate Professor Dr. Zufan Tajuddin, and then Associate Professor Dr. Alimef Tahkirget, and then Assistant Professor Dr. Marwan, and also Dr. Nur Atisah binti Muhammad Nafi, and then they all have joined with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, after living for more than 2 years in the pandemic of COVID-19, we have been facing the huge challenges in living. But however, we also have the opportunity to redesign our way to live in all sectors, including economic, business, accounting, and education. And through this conference, our university, Universitas Negeri Padang, is one of the big universities in Indonesia, would like to take part and give positive contribution to this issue. I am Assistant Professor Dr. Eka Fauzi Hardani, the moderator today. Ladies and gentlemen, before I'm going to the presentation, I'd like to greet our honorable guests. There are some representation from our collaborative industrial company, such as from Bank Nagari. Hello, Mr. Budi Rahmat Sentiawan and Mr. From Bank Nagari. There are so many representatives from Bank Nagari. Thank you very much for joining us today, and also for the others. And then enjoy our international conference. Ladies and gentlemen, as the moderator today, let me inform you that our plenary session will be two parts. The first one, we have provided 25 minutes for each speaker to deliver their work. And then after that, we have 40 minutes to give question and answer or discussion. And then after that, we come to the final, to the end of this plenary session. All right, for the first one, I'd like to introduce our honorable invited speaker, Associate Professor Dr. Zulfan Tajudin from Western Sydney University, Australia. And then the next is Professor Dr. Ali Meftah Gerget from the Oxford University, United Kingdom. And then Assistant Professor Dr. Marwan from Padang, Universitas Negeri Padang, Indonesia. And then Dr. Siti Nuratisah binti Muhammad Nafi from University Utara, Malaysia. Ladies and gentlemen, we come to the first speaker today, Associate Professor Dr. Ali Meftah Gerget. Hello, Prof. Ali Meftah. Are you joining us here today? Thank you very much. Prof. Ali.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for having me today as an invited speaker. It's my pleasure to join your 9th international conference.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Ali. And then maybe it is early morning for you in the United Kingdom. Thank you, and then we appreciate your join today. All right, Mr. Ali, I will read your profile first before you deliver your work. Ladies and gentlemen, Associate Professor Dr. Ali Meftah Gerget is the lecturer at the Montfort University, Leicester, United Kingdom, and he has the qualification of PhD, bachelor, master, and PhD in accounting. The PhD accounting is from University of Huddersfield in February 2018. And then we have noticed that Professor Ali also published several work in numerous articles, such as Journal of Accounting and Management Information System, and also Journal of Business Research, and etc. So many, I think, but I cannot read all of that, Mr. Ali. And then his research area, his expertise is in the social and environmental accounting, and then corporate stability and governance, and also in ethical accounting. All right. And Mr. Ali, Associate Professor Dr. Ali Meftah Gerget is also have some responsibility and leadership position. He is the Deputy Director of the Center of Research and Accountability, Governance and Sustainability, and also Institute Head of Research Students. And Professor Ali is also the member of the Knowledge Exchange Framework, and then he is also the member of UG Assessment Board in Department of Accounting and Finance. Ladies and gentlemen, we come to the presentation of Mr. Ali. As Professor Dr. Ali, you have 25 minutes to deliver your work, please.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor Ekra, for this introduction. Well, let me share my slides before I start presenting my thoughts today. Okay. Okay, so today's presentation will be about, this is the main content of my presentation. So today's presentation is about engendering pro-sustainable performance through a multi-layered gender diversity criterion. So mainly it's about the relationship between gender diversity and the and sustainability performance of hospitality and tourism companies worldwide. Okay, today's paper is R&R stage first round, revise and resubmit in the Journal of travel research. And this paper is co-authored by Dr. Mituram from Nottingham Trent University and Dr. Ishani Bidwala from the University of Huddersfield in the United Kingdom. Okay, so the research background and motivation. So the positive socioeconomic impacts created by the hospitality and tourism sector is well substantiated in extant research. Okay, nevertheless, the hospitality and tourism sector has also been criticized for its detrimental impacts on the natural environment and for the adoption of irresponsible social practices. As a response, the uptake of the hospitality and tourism sector's engagement in proactive corporate sustainability practices has been evidenced in recent times. Scholars have also recognized the critical role that the hospitality and tourism sector plays in contributing to sustainable development goals across developing and least developed countries, where hospitality and tourism sector contributes substantially to their country's GDP. For example, Indonesia is one of the most popular destinations for tourism. So in that case, we know that hospitality and tourism sector is contributing a lot to some countries' gross domestic product. So as such, more insight regarding how hospitality and tourism companies address sustainability is much needed these days. Okay. And in order to evaluate the factors influencing corporate sustainability outcomes, specifically in relation to its impact on diverse stakeholders, more insights are required pertaining to how sustainability is managed. Okay, so we need to know how sustainability is managed. So we need to investigate the impact of certain sides of management on sustainability. Mainly, in this regard, examining the role of gender diversity at various managerial levels is much needed, as increased diversity, specifically gender diversity, has been found to result better sustainability outcomes. Okay, so the involvement of women in the hospitality and tourism sector has been found to result in more sustainable socio-economic and environmental development. So some studies, recent studies, found that women involvement in hospitality and tourism sector can result in advancing sustainability of performance of firms, mainly board gender diversity. So previous studies focused on the role of board gender diversity. So how can diverse boards of directors, improve firms' sustainability performance? However, what less known is whether gender diversity within different corporate level management committees will result in pro-sustainable performance outcomes of hospitality and tourism corporations. So, as I said, extant literature focused on the role of board gender diversity, okay, or female directors on sustainability performance. So we realized, myself and my co-authors realized that there's no focus on other corporate level management committees. For example, women in senior management positions, or let's say female executives, in other words, and women in some specific committees like sustainability committee. We know that the board of directors, any board of directors establish a number of committees like the compensation committee, the remuneration committee, the nomination committee, the audit committee. Among these committees, the board of directors can establish another committee, which is the sustainability committee. It can be called CSR committee. It can be called business ethics committee, ethics and governance committee, environmental committee, safety and security committee. So different names, but these committees are mainly bothered about, companies' social and environmental engagements. So this what motivate the current study. We realized that the focus on gender diversity is limited to board gender diversity. So we needed to extend existing literature by focusing on other dimensions of gender diversity within the organization. As I said, we focus on 3 levels of gender diversity: board gender diversity, women in senior management positions or female executives, and we have, women on sustainability committee as a specific committee focusing on setting up companies' sustainability strategies and policies. Okay, so research objectives. So the main objective is to address the extent gap by examining the relationship between multi-gender diversity mechanisms and sustainability performance among a sample of hospitality and tourism companies worldwide from 2010 to 2020. And as I said, we use 3 proxies for gender diversity within the organization: female directors, and as we know, female directors can be executive directors or can be non-executive directors, and female executives, where we focus on women in top management positions or senior management positions within the organization, and women within, sustainability committee. Okay, so this is the main objective. So let's talk about the main contributions of this research. Let's start with the empirical contribution. So the empirical contribution providing industry-specific evidence on the multi-level gender diversity and sustainability performance using a large international sample of hospitality and tourism firms. Methodological contribution. So using Powell's 2016 panel quantile regression, that is a more comprehensive analysis technique than the least square methods. We realized that the vast majority of board gender diversity and sustainability performance studies have used the least squares methods, such as OLS, ordinary squares, fixed effect or random effects regression, 2-stage least squares or 3-stage least squares, GMM, generalized method of moment. So different least squares methods. In this study, we have a contribution by using Powell's 2016 panel quantile regression. So theoretical contribution. Our evidence supports the theoretical underpinning of the upper echelon theory and gender socialization theory. Combining both theories is of theoretical value in explaining whether female directors, due to their caring and sensitive nature, may be vital for improving pro-sustainability performance in hospitality and tourism corporations. So we combine different theories. So we explain the relationship between different gender diversity mechanisms within the organization and sustainability performance using 2 theories, okay? Upper echelon theory and the gender socialization theory. Data and methods. So our sampling criteria are based on 2 main pillars. First, Data available on Bloomberg and ICON databases. So we collect data from existing data sets, mainly Bloomberg and ICON. So every company to be included should provide data about gender diversity proxies, as I said, both gender diversity, female executives, and women on sustainability committee, okay, and provide data for sustainability performance, you know, for the period from 2010 to 2020. This resulted in 1,507 firm year observations. Mm-hmm. So second, we hand collected data for firms with sustainability committees because we couldn't find any data about gender diversity within sustainability committees, either on Bloomberg or ICON database. So we decided to collect that kind of data manually from companies' websites and sustainability reports. How? We went each company's sustainability report, and we counted the existing members, and we took the percentage of female members of the sustainability committee. So this means that we conduct our analysis using two sets of samples. At the first set, we have 1,507 firm year observations to examine the relationship between board gender diversity and female managers and sustainability performance of firms. And we have a very focused sample because not all companies have established sustainability committee. So we made a small and focused sample, focusing on those companies that have already established sustainability committee. So we collected data manually about gender or women representation within those sustainability committee, and we wanted to add the third dimension of gender diversity, which is gender diversity in sustainability committee. Okay, so these are the two sets of data we have to conduct the statistical analysis. From this table, we show how we measured our variables. From ICON database, we collected sustainability data. Mainly we used the ESG data, environmental, social, and governance data. So we have 4 proxies for sustainability performance. The first proxy is the total ESG score. The second proxy is the environmental score. The third proxy is the social score. And the fourth proxy is the governance score. Mm-hmm. And as I said, for the gender diversity proxies, we used gender diversity within 3 different management level committees. We used board gender diversity for female directors, and we used women in senior management or top management positions, or female executives or female managers. And then we used female members of sustainability committee. Okay, and then we have firm level control variables and country level control variables as we conduct an international study. Okay, data and methods. To examine the multi-gender diversity and ESG relationship, we use, as I mentioned earlier, the panel quantile regression, mainly Powell 2016 panel quantile regression. This technique is also supplemented with conducting a 2-step generalized method of moment, or 2-step GMM model, to address any possible indigeneity concerns. So I'm not going to bother you with tables, because when you conduct panel quantile regression, you'll have massive tables, because panel quantile regression divides the sample into 10 quintiles. So based on the median, not on the mean, around the outcome or the dependent variable from 10% till 95%. So it's massive tables. So I'm gonna go directly to present my results. So our empirical evidence supports the positive association between board gender diversity or female directors and the total ESG score as a proxy for sustainability performance of hospitality and tourism firms worldwide. Okay, so in contrast, women in management positions or female managers were negatively attributable to the total ESG engagement. Similarly, the noted influence of both gender diversity, okay, which is positive, and women in management positions or top management position, which was negative, are consistent across all ESG dimensions. We know we have the environmental, social, and governance, ESG, okay, except for the social score, where a positive nexus exists between women in management positions and social engagement of hospitality and tourism firms. Well, how can we interpret these results? I mean, to put the results at the first set of sample, okay, into context, we found that both gender diversity or female directors are positively linked with sustainability performance, and female managers are negatively related to sustainability performance. In other words, okay, female directors or female on board are more bothered about stakeholders' requirements, okay, and they seek to push their firms towards more sustainability engagement. But women in top management positions are more shareholder-oriented rather than stakeholder-oriented, and they are profit-driven. So they are influenced by the male kind of schema, okay, or they call it the male predominant environment. So even female, when it comes to being managers, they will be shareholder driven rather than stakeholder driven, and they will focus on profit maximization rather than delivering positive value to societies and advancing well-functioning societies and protecting the the environment. Okay, so we argue that females on boards and subboards tend to display a more communal, participative, and democratic leadership style, demonstrating greater social responsibilities and engaging with sustainability activities. Our findings also reaffirm that women on the boards of hospitality and tourism firms are more community-oriented and philanthropically driven than women in senior management positions who can be perceived as being profit-oriented rather than stakeholder-oriented as managers. Okay, how can we explain this? So this implies that the role and responsibilities of female directors may also affect their sustainability orientation. For example, the impact of female executives might be constrained by the prevalence of job self-schema in a predominantly male environment. Additional analysis. So as additional analysis, we focus on a smaller sample of 595 firm-year observations. Why? To include the third dimension of gender diversity, which is female members of sustainability committee. So in the first set of sample, as I said, we focus on two dimensions. female directors and female executives and their impact on sustainability performance. And we concluded that female directors have positive impact, and they are therefore more stakeholder oriented and philanthropically driven, and female managers are are negatively linked with sustainability performance, which means that they are more shareholder oriented and profit driven. Okay, so now we need to add another dimension of gender diversity within the organization, which is female members of sustainability committee. Why we chosen sustainability committee, not other committees? I mean, like, audit committee, like compensation committee, like nomination committee. Well, the reason is because we believed that sustainability committees are more focused on setting up companies' sustainability strategies and key performance indicators. So, and assessing the sustainability engagement. So, based on that, we decided to add gender diversity within sustainability committee to the other dimensions of gender diversity. Okay, so our findings indicate that female members of sustainability committees are associated with enhanced sustainability performance. This means that female members of sustainability committees got positive influence on firms' sustainability performance using ESG score and its main dimensions, the environmental score, social score, and governance score. And our GMM analysis, the generalized method of movement, shows that the panel quantile regression's findings are robust to indigeneity problems. Okay, now we knew the results. The results of this piece of research says, okay, female directors are more stakeholder driven and they focus about protecting the environment and advancing well functioning societies. On the other side, female managers are profit driven as managers and they focus on maximizing shareholders' wealth. And female members of sustainability committee, okay, as a sub board, they are more focused on community needs and protecting the environment as well. So the relationship between female members of sustainability committee and sustainability performance is again positive. So what does this imply? Our findings imply that greater diversity mechanisms, or sorry, gender diversity mechanisms, seemed to work effectively in hospitality and tourism firms that seek to be involved in practical sustainability initiatives. This means that developing more effective compliance mechanisms with multidimensional implementations of gender diversity for hospitality and tourism firms is vital to improve their pro-sustainable performance. Recommendations. For practitioners, we suggest adopting a balanced gender diversity approach to enhance firms' sustainability performance. Okay, for example, we need to we recommend companies to have more women on boards in order to enhance their effect on improving firms' sustainability practices. We encourage managers to reinforce an equal dynamic between male and female directors if enhancing corporate sustainability is their top priority. As again, our findings show that more female directors are linked with positive sustainability performance of firms. Policymakers may consider a softer approach that aims to provide incentives and reward companies for their gender diversity and sustainability practices. For standard setters, adopting a quota of women on boards might be considered for future corporate governance reforms. So as you can see, we concluded that women on the board of directors and the committees that established by the board of directors, such as the sustainability committee, are more positively linked with sustainability performance. And we explained it by saying they are stakeholder oriented and philanthropically driven. Their main concern is to protect the environment and advance well-functioning societies. So that's why we say we need more women or fairer representation of women on boards and sub-boards like sustainability committee. But women in management position, they might be influenced by the job self-schema in a predominantly male environment and be profit driven and shareholder oriented. Okay, their main focus is to maximize shareholders' wealth rather than protecting the environment. That's why our recommendations are relevant to more balanced representation of women on corporate boards and sub-boards like the sustainability committee. So for now, these are the references as have been used to create today's presentation. Before I open the door for questions, this picture down there summarizes our research. We can see here at the middle, we don't have diversity, or we don't have gender diversity. So we can see less, performance. We use these bulbs to represent sustainability performance. So without gender diversity, we have a poor sustainability performance. With some, we have just one female here, director, with women existence within boards, will have a better financial performance. However, with fairer representation of women on corporate boards, we will have the best possible sustainability performance in the hospitality and tourism sector. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation, and any questions are more than welcome.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Dr. Ali Miftah Girgit, for your interesting presentations. And then for the nowadays Indonesian government, which take a lot of emphasis to develop the hospitality and tourism sector in Indonesia, I believe that your presentation gave inspiration and idea to develop the contribution of female in Indonesia. And also, since in Indonesian, the female have the significant role in the hospitality and tourism sector, I'm sure that it will give the motivation for our researcher to have to develop the study to investigate the gender diversity in Indonesia. Thank you once again, Professor Dr. Ali Miftah. Ladies and gentlemen, before we moving to the next speaker, let me inform you that when you have any questions to the speaker, please type your questions in our chat room. And for the audience who join our conference through the live streaming, please leave your question in the comment column and I will read them for you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we move to the second speaker. I invite Associate Professor Dr. Zulfan Tajuddin from Western Sydney University. Hello, Professor Dr. Zulfan Tajuddin.
Hello, Dr. Eka. Good to be here. Thank you for
Assalamualaikum.
inviting. Waalaikumsalam.
Yeah, Waalaikumsalam. Professor Dr. Zulfan Tajuddin will present his work entitled Fostering International Dynamism for Reindustrializing Indonesia, Some Preliminary Exploration. Professor Dr. Zulfan Tajuddin, I will read your profile first, and then we provide 20 minutes for you. Ladies and gentlemen, Associate Professor Dr. Zulfan Tajuddin is the lecturer at the Western Sydney University, Australia, and he has qualification of PhD in Economics from University of Western Sydney, Australia in 2010, and then has a master degree in Development Economics from the Netherlands. Professor Dr. Zulfan Tajuddin is an Indonesian who now live in Australia. And we have noticed some publication of Professor Dr. Zulfan Tajuddin, books and paper. Some of them is Employment and Reindustrialization in Post-Suharto Indonesia. And then in 2019, yeah. And then the others is Explaining Collective Violence in Contemporary Indonesia from Conflict to Cooperations. And there are several articles too in numerous of reputable international journals like Journal of the ASEAN Pacific Economic, and then Well-being, Space and Society, and Pacific Affairs, and a lot of others. And then Professor Dr. Zulfan Tajuddin have the research area in the development and conflict, employment and labor market, and also in poverty inequality. So the others beside the lecturer, he also have the professional experience, such as Associate Professor of Development Study, Western Sydney, Australia. And also he is the technical advisor at UNDP, and also the visiting scholar in Queen Elizabeth House, University of Oxford, and also the support facility for UN for Indonesian recovery. So it is no doubt for your expertise. Ladies and gentlemen, we proceed to the work of Professor Dr. Zulfan Tajuddin. 20 minutes, please, Dr. Zulfan Tajuddin.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Good morning, everyone. Probably good day or very early morning in different parts of the world. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me. Happy to see close to 300 participants joining online in this conference. But actually, I wish I could be coming to Padang to see the homeland rather than joining via Zoom. Zoom is not really interesting anymore, I can tell you, after 2 years of torturing by this kind of environment. So we need to go back to the normal life. So, but anyway, hopefully this is the last round of this kind of conference. Anyway, my presentations today is actually a kind of follow-up from our previous book about employment and reindustrializations in Indonesia. So in this work, we are looking at how inter-region in Indonesia can be more dynamic, can be interacting more in terms of selling goods, buying goods, using the output from other region, processing in the region, and then so more interconnectedness of regions across the country. So that's what we conceptualize as internal dynamism. And then we argue that this could be identified as a future source of growth, given the global environment, that more important domestic market, uncertain global environment. Indonesia is a big country, big population, so something needs to be exploited, needs to be creative in finding the internal source, another or additional internal source of growth. So that's the key idea of this paper. Anyway, let's start with my slides. So I'll do my share screen. Hopefully things will work. So we should be, people should be able to see now, right? If you can signal
Yes,
that you can see. Oh, that's very good. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, this is a picture of my university, one of the newer building. And then, so the title is Fostering Internal Dynamism for Reindustrializing Indonesia. So this is very much explorations. Nothing is, we are not sure about the argument. So that's why, you know, as a researcher, we always be unsure. So that's why you keep doing research. Otherwise, if you are sure about something, you stop doing research and then you becoming a preacher. So that's if you are an academic, you cannot be a preacher. So if you are a preacher, meaning that you have moved to the high level of the state of mind. So we are still at the lower level. Okay, this is a quote from the head of Bappenas 2 years ago, Pak Bambang Brojonegoro. We need to somehow refocus on the manufacturing sector. Manufacturing is a prerequisite for boosting economic growth. So the awareness was manufacturing is important for economic growth, for innovations, for employment, for dynamic economy, but this is only somehow. So the word of somehow a kind of a sense of uncertainty. But if you think of what has happened more recently, since Indonesia now is the largest producer of nickel, Indonesia now is the largest producer of palm oil. Now the question is, are we going to just selling the raw material, or are we going to move forward to capture more value added from the raw material that we have and then capture the value added as much as we can, create more employment, create economic growth, generate more value added, make the economy more dynamic, more modern. So that should be the visions. But what we have seen for the past more recently, it looks to me that from distance, Indonesia is quite serious in reindustrializing the economy rather than start in raw material producing country. Yeah, so there's a good sign. So probably now the word of somehow should be removed. We need to refocus on manufacturing sector, reindustrializing the economy, because manufacturing is a prerequisite for boosting economic growth. So there should be confidence that the country should have. Now the idea is we try to provide some guidance, because we cannot recreate the miracle from the Suharto's era, relying on the cheap labor, natural resource, repressing the freedom of labor. We can't stay at that kind of low level. We move upwards. And then also, in the reindustrializations, it has to be based on more innovations, more competitiveness, not just from the cheap raw material, cheap labor. And then also the challenge for having more balanced regional development, rather than concentrating in Java or in Western Indonesia and then let some region lagging behind. That will not be acceptable. So the idea is this country, this big country and very diverse country, will have to create a kind of internal dynamism and then to strengthen the linkage between industries and also between regions. So the idea here is to foster internal flying geese formations. Remember that the flying geese concept was introduced in the context of East Asian economy. Japan in the leading role, followed by South Korea, Taiwan, and then Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand will be lagging behind. So now we need to adopt that one at the country level. So the more advanced region will be at the front, Other region will be in the middle, more region will be following. So we move together. So that's the idea of internal flying Gs formations. And then to develop the interlink within the internal market. Because you know that one of the factors that saved Indonesia from the global crisis was the more dominant nature of the domestic economy compared to reliance on the international market. So somehow, you know, we need to engage more with the international market, but having large domestic economy doesn't mean that it is a disadvantage. But if you think of the global financial crisis, one factor that saved Indonesia from the GFC 10 years ago, 12 years ago was because of the dominant role of the domestic market. So that needs to be exploited more, needs to be to gain more from that nature. Okay, so in this one, we use the data from the interregional input-output. So the movement transactions between provinces in Indonesia, rather than just between sectors. So interregional input-output, we look at the transactions between sector and also between region, and also between sector, between region. So this is quite complicated. So, and that table, we can identify which region are lagging behind, which one is more dynamic. So we can differentiate region based on this kind of analysis. I think I'll skip this one because this is just introductions to the macro picture of what has happened before. So the preconditions is the growth after Suharto below the growth before Suharto, and then lagging behind in terms of productive and decent jobs, and then inequality is rising, growing wage productivity gap, and Indonesia has experienced what is called the premature deindustrialization. So, and then at the same time, the global economy is uncertain, and then Indonesia needs to do something. And then just to back up the data, what I've said before, on the right side, on the left, right-hand side, you can see the data showing the deindustrializations. And on the left, you can see that how the performance in post-Suharto well below the Suharto era. And then this is the data showing the rising Gini index inequality, and then the data in post-Suharto Indonesia, the growing wage productivity gap. So that's the macro data to support what I've said before. And then large regional disparities in terms of per capita GDP across provinces. Then if you look at the manufacturing sector, that sector concentrated in few provinces. I have the data there. 5 Java provinces account for close to 3/4 of the total manufacturing GDP. And then the provinces that I put the color of red there, and then you will find 86.5% of national manufacturing GDP were produced from that provinces with the red color. So highly concentrated. So the idea is, what about the rest of the regions? Why don't we, the opportunity for reindustrialization is still very huge in the country. I'll skip this one. And then this is the concept. The internal flying geese is basically the formations based on the region comparative advantage. So if the region is, say, resource rich, it has to be maximizing the characteristic of that economy. If the region is with the availability of labor force, you can think of more labor intensive industry. In the region with the more toward agricultural sector, so industrializations based on the agricultural commodity should be thought. So something like that, yeah. So based on the region's comparative advantage, there is no such thing called one size fits all here, because Indonesia, economically speaking, is a very diverse country. And then the idea was to foster the so-called internal dynamism. So the concept is here. This is about the extent to which each region or province economically interacts with other regions. Very simple. Yeah. And then you will find here, West Sumatra is among one of the provinces in the country with the lowest interactions with other provinces. So less dynamic for whatever reason, because of the geography, because of whatever. So highly dynamic province produce not only for its own people, but that province will also produce for other provinces. And at the same time, a dynamic province will consume end product not only from their own province, but also demanding end products or intermediate products from other provinces, not only one. So that's why we need to have a kind of formula to measure the level of dynamism. Okay, so data is interregional input-output, and then we use the data for five series data: 1995, 2000, 2005, 2010, and 2016. So we can see the trend of internal dynamism in the economy. So the ERIO table is to show the interregional as well as intersectoral economic interactions among regions. Yeah? And then the regional economic dynamism is interpreted as the extent a region interact with other regions to supply and also to demand intermediate input and final demand at a particular time. So I'm trying to be a bit more clearer about the definitions. Now, this is the basic framework. This is the basic framework of if you're familiar with the framework of input-output between sector, and then now you just put region for each of the components. So you have very large table now. You can imagine how many sector in the economy, say if you have 13 sector or 20 sector, whatever, and then you have, say, for example, 30 province, so you have to multiply, and then you can see how big is the matrix. Yeah? And this is the formula to calculate the economic spread index. So that's the term that we developed to measure the internal dynamism. That's the formula. Basically, this is the opposite expressions of the well-known Herfindahl-Hirschman index, concentration index. So more concentrated you are in that kind of index. Now we are looking at the how spread you are. So this is the inverse of the Herfindahl-Hirschman index, if you are familiar with that one. Now we differentiate, we calculate the spread index following the structure of the input-output. So you have the supply of intermediate output, you have the supply of the final demand. On the other hand, a region also will demand intermediate output and will demand final demand from other regions. So we develop 4 subcomponents of the spread index. And then in total for one province, we just take the average of the 4 components. Then you have the, what is that? The overall economic spread index for one province. Yeah, and then we look at for Indonesia. Then you take the weighted average of a simple average for Indonesia at one point in time. What is the overall dynamism of Indonesia as an economy? Now let's look at the result now. 3 things are important here, or we present the result in 3 components. The first one is we look at the national trend, and then we look at the provincial variations of each dynamism of the provinces, and then we look at the sectoral highlights after that. Now let's start with the first one. This is the overall trend of dynamism at the country level. We used to measure the weighted average across provinces and the simple average. If you ask me, I would prefer to use the weighted average, weighted by the size of the populations, rather than to treat every province equally, because this would be more fair. But the trend is similar. What is the trend? increasing dynamism in 2000 compared to 1995, then declining dynamism at the country level overall between the year of 2000 till 2010, and then improve again, bounce back in 2016. The question is, how do we explain? This is how do we explain. How to understand the increased dynamism in 2000 compared to 1995. We know that it was the initial period of democratic transitions, move toward decentralizations. But don't forget, in the year of 2000, Indonesia was still governed, or the provinces were still governed, the region were still governed using the central planning model of the new order. So you have the central command, but at the same time, you have the injections of dynamism from the democratic transitions, from the move toward decentralizations. That's one possible factor. The second one is the effect of the economic recovery after the 1998 crisis. And we know that key to the recovery was the importance of consumptions and the role of small and medium size of economic enterprises, and they are spread across the region. So that's the way we understand. Yeah, this is just to try to understand why the dynamism increased in 2000. But the more interesting one is what happened after 2000. So this is where the decline, the continuous decline of dynamism in 2005, and then continue to more decline in 2010 for 10 years. How do we understand? The first one is, remember that decentralizations in Indonesia has created the so-called inward-looking orientations of regions in Indonesia. Yeah, each region, province, kabupaten, district, they try to protect their own economy. They want the build barrier of interregional trade. If you bring cows from one district, move to the neighboring district, you will have to go to checkpoints and to pay for some fees. So that kind of thing actually lower the dynamism, the initial negative effect of decentralizations, if you like. And then at the same time, if you think of what happened between 2000 and 2010, overall, in the paper, we explained that one. The trend was declining infrastructure quality in the country. Yeah, it was during that period. So based on that kind of three dot points, that's our initial hunch, how to understand why the internal dynamism declined in 2005 and 2010. And then that period also coincided with the deindustrialization period and also rising inequality. Now, the good thing is the dynamism kind of bounced back in 2016 compared to 2000. But remember that this is not continuous data. We have only point data, 2016, and then 2002 and 2010. We don't have data for 2011, 12, 13, 14, 15. So be mindful, this is not continuous data. So, but the data shows that dynamism increased. So regions in Indonesia interacting more in 2016 compared to 2010. So this is the 2 points that we want to put forward to explain that. One is the process of re-empowering provincial and central governments, yeah, amid decentralizations and for the coordinations and the development management. So this is based on the 2014 review of the decentralization role, because it has been understood that the 10 years move toward decentralizations has created the so-called race to the bottom, the unhealthy competitions between regions. So regions should not compete, they should collaborate, they should interact more, and then gain more dynamism in pushing the economy forward. And then the second one is probably the policy change brought by the new administrations in 2014, the current administrations that put emphasis on the development of regional infrastructure across the country. And then if you look at the data after 2014, you will look at, although the bounce back of the share of manufacturing has not been very clear, but the slowdown of the reindustrializations has been identified. And the hope is, if you look at the policy document and the public discourse, the importance of reindustrializations has been well articulated in the country. Now, let's look at the second part of the initial findings. Let's look at the dynamism across regions. So if you look at the data in 2016, we took the 5 most dynamic provinces in the country. And then you look at where they were before in 2010, 2005, 2000, and 1995. And then you will find out Banten, North Kalimantan, Central Sulawesi, Riau Island, Maluku. They are the top 5 most dynamic provinces in Indonesia based on the IRIO table in 2016. Then you can understand, why not West Sumatra located in the top 5? Yeah, why Maluku? Why Central Sulawesi? You know, Central Sulawesi is where the massive investment, massive nickel deposit was located. Why North Kalimantan? Yeah, Banten, one of the key manufacturing hub in the country, and Maluku. Yeah, so this is the finding that needs to be explained more, to learn. Okay, and then if you look at West Sumatra, what I can tell you, West Sumatra consistently were among the least dynamic provinces in Indonesia. So if it is the case, you can understand why the economy is not so dynamic. Yeah, we interact less, yeah, with other region compared to, say, for example, Riau. Compared to Riau Island, Riau Island is among the top 5 in 2016. Yeah, so a lot to be seen there in the detailed data of the economic spread index across provinces. And then when we look at the sectoral highlights, I want to say just these 3 points. The first one is, we can look at the feature of the Indonesian economy across regions. The first group is probably the key manufacturing region. That will be in Java. And then you have the resource-based regions. You will see that one in Kalimantan, in Papua. And then you have also the less integrated region. And then you have West Sumatra, Bengkulu, and Gorontalo. Yeah? And then you have also the hub region for Eastern Indonesia, South Sulawesi. So if you look at the sector, in West Java, in western part of Java, West Java and Banten, and also in East Java, if we can also differentiate the dynamism based on primary, secondary, or tertiary sector. And then in those provinces, the manufacturing province, you will see that the secondary sector consists of manufacturing is much more dynamic than primary or tertiary sector, something that we easy to understand. But if you look at the resource producing province like Papua, Papua has also relatively high overall economic spread index. But when we look at the sectoral disaggregations, we will know that the high economic spread index in Papua is basically driven by the high dynamism of the primary sector, because of the primary sector from Papua is supplying other region to supply the intermediate input to be used for other sector, other more follow-up sector. So that's the end of my slides, basically. So I just want to conclude these presentations that reindustrializations has been adopted as the key policy. Actually, since for the past 10 years, we have heard that one. And then this is the steps in right directions. And the country should concentrate on catching up more value added from the resource sector and developing more advanced manufacturing in more advanced region. And then reindustrializations for Indonesia is a must. That will create more dynamic economy, more modern, more good quality jobs, And I don't think there is other way rather than reindustrializations. I'll end my presentation here. Thank you so much for attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Associate Professor Dr. Zulfan Tajudin, for your great presentations. And then I'm sure and I believe that Indonesia need, it is an urgent for Indonesia to balancing the fostering of industrialization from the province which produce raw material to the province which is, there are so many industry like in Java. As your presentation said, Java Island, especially Banten and East Java, has produced more than 73% of for Indonesian, and then I think it's an urgent for us to make balancing. Thank you very much once again, Professor Dr. Zulfan Tajudin, for your great presentation. Once again, our audience, I remind you to type your questions for in our chat room, or maybe for the audience who join us in the YouTube live streaming, please leave your questions in the comment column. Ladies and gentlemen, we move to the third presenter. I invite Assistant Professor Dr. Marwan from Universitas Negeri Padang, Indonesia. Hello, Professor Dr. Marwan. How are you?
Good morning. Selamat siang, semangat pagi nih, Bu Eka.
Okay. But unfortunately, I cannot hear your voice clearly.
Yeah. Okay.
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 All right.
Okay.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, Assistant Professor Dr. Marwan will present his work about the Merdeka Belajar Kampus Merdeka, challenges, opportunities, and its implementation in strengthened graduate competencies. First, I will read your profile, Dr. Marwan. Assistant Professor Dr. Marwan is the lecturer at the Universitas Negeri Padang with the qualification of Doctor in Economic Education from Universitas Negeri Malang, Indonesia, at 2011. And then he has also taken in the Master in Cooperation from Pajajaran University, Indonesia, and have bachelor degree in Economic Education from Universitas Negeri Padang. And also Assistant Professor Dr. Marwan have the research is a course for the research methodology in University of Queensland. Assistant Professor Dr. Marwan have also published some work like book, research, and others. Some of them is the books entitled Strategi Pembelajaran, and then also the Pengantar Manajemen Koperasi dan UMKM, and also he has published some work like pembentukan profil akuntan dan pada tahun at the 2021, and there are so many I think. And then Assistant Professor Dr. Marwan is also have the interest in the research area such as learning improvement, and then cooperative education, and also entrepreneurship education. Ladies and gentlemen, he has also leadership and responsibility as the Vice Dean for Academic Affairs at the Faculty of Economics, Universitas Negeri Padang, and then also he had head of department of Master in Economics from 2016 until 2019, and then the expert staff of Vice Rector for Academic Affairs. Ladies and gentlemen, we invite Assistant Professor Dr. Marwan to present his work. I hope 20 minutes. Yeah, Assistant Professor Dr. Marwan, please.
Okay, thank you, Bu Eka, our moderator. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Semangat pagi, semangat pagi for everybody. The Honorable keynote speaker, Pak Prof. Dr. Zulfan Tajudin, Associate Prof. Dr. Alimef Tahgirget, and Dr. Noratisa Muhammad Nafi, and also all participants in this conference. Okay, I would like to share my presentation. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to present challenge, opportunities, and implementation of Merdeka Belajar Kampus Merdeka or MBKM in strengthening graduates' competency. I think this topic very relevant with this conference theme, Leap to Immense Future, Seizing Opportunities in Education, Economics, and Business. Okay. The era of Industry Revolution 4.0 brought change in the field of the work and the competencies need to the works. In the context disruption, disruptive innovation, many fields of work are lost and replaced with new jobs that tend to require digital literacy and competency. This condition can enlarge the gap between the competency of graduates and the competencies need to work. One of the program then can solve the problem of competency gaps is the Merdeka Belajar Kampus Merdeka, MBKM program. MBKM program, its mean the freedom to learn independent campus policy is by following under Education Culture Minister Regulation number 4 of 2020 about national standard for higher education. MBKM aims to increase the graduate competencies, including competencies in soft skill as well as the hard skill. Through MBKM, students have the opportunity for one semester or the equivalent of 20 credits of studying outside the study program at the same college, and a maximum of 2 semesters or the equivalent of 40 credits of studying in the same study program at different college, learning in different study program at different college, and or learning outside the college. There are 8 Mbkm activities: students exchange, internship or work practice, teaching assistant in educational unit, research, humanitarian projects, entrepreneurial activities, independent project or study, build village, thematic community service program. So the all activities is the MBKM activities. Merdeka Belajar Kampus Merdeka. MBKM related to main performance indicators of higher education, especially indicator number 2. So, all university include Universitas Negeri Padang and other university try to reach the target. MBKM implemented under the Merdeka curriculum. So not all students are required to take Merdeka curriculum. This curriculum applies to the interested student. So the fact the student participation in MBKM is due to external factors. For example, in the context for achieving key performance indicators, and also getting money from faculty or university like tuition or living fee if the participation in MBKM program. If necessary, to reset to the effort that can motivate students to take advantage of the MBKM program in order to strengthen the competency of graduates. Ladies and gentlemen, research method aim of research, identify challenges and opportunities in optimizing MBKM to strengthen the competency of graduates. And second, analysis of MBKM implementation that can strengthen graduate competencies. I use a mixed method, quantitative and qualitative methods. Sample 70 students of accounting department, but I would like to get more data, more sample for other research. Key informant, head of department, MBKM participant, Vice Dean Academic Affairs, and lecturers. So, what challenge? Yeah, the challenge is increase student awareness to join the MBKM program to strengthen the digital literacy and competency needed to work in the future. Result, yeah, from 70 accounting students in faculty economics, so only 11% yeah, interested in joining the MBKM program to improve their competency. The student would like to improve their competency through workshop, training, not through MBKM program. So how to increase student awareness to join MBKM program? This is the challenge, how to increase student awareness to join MBKM program. I would like to show about work orientation of student. Yeah, the student choose their main occupation as an accountant after completing their studies. So look at data about acting 18%, the student want to be accountant after completing their studies. Whereas in the future, the work might no longer exist or be reduced due to innovation or advances in digital technology. So we can look at some occupation like financial cyber security, financial data analysis, credit analysis. The student only choose about 3%. Yeah, this work may be a work, yeah, to student, yeah, to graduates from accounting department. This is the fact. Yeah. So to increase awareness student to join to MBKM program, we should increase student awareness about shifting field of the work in the future. So we must increase student awareness about shifting field of work in the future. I think this can some students want to join to MBKM program when they aware about field of work in the future. The second, how to increase student to join Mbkm program, increase student awareness about digital literacy skill in the work field in the future. Look at this data about student awareness about digital literacy skill in the work field in the future. About 8.5%, the student very not aware about digital skill in accounting field in the future. About 27.4% not aware. The student very aware about digital skill in accounting field in the future, only 7.3%. This is the problem, yeah. How to motivate the student to join to Mbkm program when they are not aware about digital skill in the future. The need of digital skill in the field in the future. The third, increase student awareness about digital literacy skill through accounting learning. This data show student answer about integration digital skill through accounting learning. Okay, digital skill like artificial intelligence, blockchain, big data, cyber risk, and ethics in IT. So we look at integration digital skill through accounting learning. About 7.8%, the student answer always, but 13% the student answer never. This is the fact, that digital skill not integration to accounting learning. So this is opportunities Mbkm program to build digital skill the student by program Mbkm. Number 4, utilizing the potential of millennial or Z generation digital competency implementation of the Ndtm program. So we know digital competency like use information and digital data, communication and digital collaboration, create of digital content, safety and healthy digital, solve of digital problem, and digital literacy. So this data show basically student as millennial or Z generation have enough digital competency. We can use its competency to build or strengthen the graduate competency by Mbkm program. Okay, I would like to show about Mbkm opportunities to strengthen graduates' competency. Research results show the opportunity of each Mbkm program in strengthen graduates' competency, especially literature literacy, and digital competency. The data source from key informant, student exchange, internship or work practice, research outside university, entrepreneur activities, independent study or project have opportunity or impact to strengthen graduates' competency. Because teaching assistant have low impact to strengthen grade competency, and entrepreneur activities have moderate impact to strengthen grade competency. Okay, before ending this presentation, I would like to show some picture about Mbkm activities can answer why student exchange, internship or work practice, research outside university, independent study or project can have big impact to strengthen graduate competencies. Okay. Conclusion, the awareness of students on the need of skill and soft skill is a key point for the student to get a suitable job in the future. They need to increase student awareness about change in the field of work in the future and competency. Mbkm programs in the form of student exchange, internship, research outside universities, and independent studies or projects have strong opportunities and impact in strengthening digital literacy and competency of graduates. Although the outcome of Ndtm activities is relatively difficult to measure in the short time, we believe that the implementation of Ndtm can reduce the gap between job recruitment and graduate competencies. So I would like to show some activities Ndtm program like student exchange, Indonesia International Student Mobility Award, Indonesia International Vocational Student Mobility Award, or pertukaran mahasiswa merdeka Permatasari. Internship or work practice by program magang dan studi independen bersertifikat, teaching assistant, kampus mengajar, research outside of university like EP goes to campus, humanitarian projects like program pejuang muda from the collaboration about 3 departments, entrepreneur activities by program kewirausahaan mahasiswa Indonesia, akselerasi startup mahasiswa Indonesia, pendampingan wirausaha mahasiswa, independent study atau project. This is study independence e-commerce, collaboration, Power Academy, with department, atau minister. This is developing village thematic student community service program. This is program design, KKN thematic, uh, to about COVID-19, in 2020 years. Okay, I think I would like to show this picture to show you that Mbkm program in the form of student exchange, internship, research outside universities, and independent studies have strong opportunities and impact strengthening digital literacy and competency graduates. Okay, I think. Okay. Thank you for your attention. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Assistant Professor Dr. Marwan, for your interesting presentation. And I believe, and we believe that the MBKM, or Merdeka Belajar Kampus Merdeka, is launched 2 years ago by the Indonesian Higher Education Ministry. It is very important to bridging the competency of university graduate. And then, as your presentation stated, that the competency of IT is a need and it's urgent for our graduate. Once again, thank you, Assistant Professor Dr. Marwan. Ladies and gentlemen, let me to move to the fourth speaker and invite Dr. Siti Nuratisah binti Muhammad Nafi from University Utara Malaysia. Assalamualaikum. Hello, Ibu Nora. Hello, Dr. Nora.
Hello. Hi.
Yeah. Who are you?
I'm good. Okay.
Thank you.
Able to see me. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Dr. Nora. At first, I will read your profile, and then we provide for you 20 minutes to present your work. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Siti Nuratisah binti Muhammad Nafi is the lecturer at the School of Business Management, College of Business, University Utara Malaysia. And then she has qualification as the PhD Pengurusan UUM Universitas Utara Malaysia at 2017. And then she got bachelor degree at 1996 and a master degree from University Malaysia at 24. Dr. Siti Nuratisah also published several publications of his study, of his research, for example, in the European Modern Studies Journal, and the other is in European Modern Studies Journal at 2020 and 2021. And there are a lot of I have noticed, but unfortunately I cannot read all Mrs. Siti Nuratisah. And then, ladies and gentlemen, our speaker, Dr. Siti Nuratisah, also have expertise and have big interest in the area of research such as open innovation, triple helix, and also item response theory, and the others. She got several awards and recognition. For example, some of them, Paper Award for KMECE, University Utara Malaysia, and then also as the keynote speaker at the 2020, and also Pakarujuk, yeah, and the others. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Siti Nuratisah binti Muhammad will present her work for 25 minutes. Please, Dr. Nora.
Okay, thank you. That's indeed a very kind welcome that I have there. All right, thank you for having me. It is actually I'm very pleasured that I'm able to join this prestigious event that I know UNP have yearly for this. Okay, Honorable Rector and Vice Rector, Deans and Deputy Deans, key panelists, all right. The chairman to the 9th PICEEBA conference, the moderator for today's conference, professors, committees, academic members, industrial players, and participants of the conference. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh, and a very good morning is about to go to afternoon. Salam dari Malaysia. All right, I hope that everybody is in good health. All right, and I had the opportunity being the final speaker today. I had the opportunity to learn from the various findings that we had earlier, and I indeed have to say that if Dr. Zulfan was telling that his observation might be the lower, so I'm guessing that mine would be the lowest so far. All right, what I intend, let me just share with you what I plan to actually share this morning. Okay. Okay, my topic for today's sharing is actually about open innovation. All right, as what have been mentioned earlier during the kind introduction that I had. Okay, one of the area that I am very interested in is to look at open innovation, and I find that this topic is especially very suitable, right, for the theme that we have in this conference, because open innovation, if you probably may have heard about it, is actually an area of research that has been widely being researched in the context of business organization. All right, this is a term that has been coined around 2013 by Chasborough, and then the interest starts going up and building up, especially from the multinational big companies, all right, to find how, and then it moves from open innovation in big companies to small, medium, and enterprises. And today the interest in open innovation research has actually grown up to even look at how the higher education, right, can actually leverage from the open innovation model. So there is no specific finding as to this is generally, this is through observation, and this perhaps at the end of this presentation I'm able to actually boost some interest to those of you out there who is searching for areas of interest in your research. Yeah. Okay, just call me Dr. Nora. I'm Dr. Nora, by name. Okay. Okay, this is basically some simple checkpoints that I wish to cover today. We'll be, I'll be talking about open innovation, a simple one, a direct one, and then we'll be looking at university industry collaboration with probably some highlights from Malaysia, and we'll be discussing about issues and challenges. Yeah. Okay. The aim of this paper, the paper that I submitted, is basically to look into some areas that people talk about open innovation. And open innovation, through this research of open innovation, there has been a lot of areas of interest. And one of the areas of interest that specifically struck me is how the success of open innovation performance will depend largely on how every collaborative partners trust each other. And this is especially true if you're looking at the universities or higher education types of collaboration with the industries. Okay, so I hope that it will be able to create interest. I hope it will be able to draw some clearance to things that we always percept about when we do collaboration. And I'm sure a lot of people, especially we have industry players as part of the participants today. I am sure that whatever that we have experienced during the collaboration of universities are somewhat true to a certain level. Yeah. Okay, so at the end of this presentation, there will be some areas that people has researched about in the lights of trust, and hopefully this will be able to, as I said, create interest among students or maybe academicians to find answers to how we actually boost open innovation. Yeah. All right. Hold on. Okay, now I think majority of us here, we represent the higher education, all right, institution, and we have always been viewed, the universities, we have always been viewed as a competitive organizations or a competitive enterprise. And the reason why we are saying it is because the competition is very huge among the higher education providers itself. You know, it's very increasingly competitive. For the admittance to the top institutions, ranking has always been, the main agenda of each university. In the case of Malaysia, it is not. It is, of course, a major focus of every year. So we looked at how rankings can actually place our university not just at the local level, but also at the international level. Accreditation is another example of how we compete between each other to make sure that our university stands to be one of the best when people search for in social media and stuff. All right, it requires students, all right, to compete because the number of seats are very limited. Especially, we know that in the midst of COVID-19 pandemic that we have, the budgets are all being cut down, and and the competition to actually enter good universities are very, very steep. So this has actually caused universities to go for fundings, to go for external fundings, be it government or private funding. Okay. And what happened is the rising cost of education. Okay, these are some of the reasons. The cost to enter universities are rising. The retainment of excellent students and manpower are very, very tough. We have that situation in UUM ourselves, and that it is very, very challenging. Okay, to have the best of the best to be inside the university. And with the advancements of technology and with the experience that we have during COVID, we know that the approach to teaching and learning has become very, very challenging. And this challenge does not come cheap, right? You need to invest in training, you need to invest in the latest technology. Some of this technology might be proven good in the initial stage, but as we go along, we realize that we all want back to go to the normal life that we used to have. Right, and all that you see in the bullet point there. These are the reason why competition getting very, very steepy. All right, so to compete, all right, higher education providers must provide, must provide a higher quality education. If I can, for those who probably do not know, we at University Utara Malaysia, we fought and we tried to maintain the quality to become an ASESB university. So to get this accreditation is not something easy. All right, it is something that requires the effort, a high effort from everyone in the universities. All right, and I'm glad to say that we have had the ASESB accreditation again for the year of 5 years beginning this year. All right, so we have another 5 years as an ASESB accredited university. All right, so we want not just a ranking, we want not just a higher quality, we want a safe and supportive environment itself. Okay, students, for you, I listened to Dr. Marwan, Assistant Professor Dr. Marwan's presentation just now on how a challenge to actually attract students. And I've also watched the corporate video of Padang, and I have had my personal experience actually working with Padang, because we do have our dual degree program, okay, with Universitas Negeri Padang, and students from Universitas Negeri Padang are among a high quality students that we have in UUM. Okay, but to make sure that we continue have these international students in the universities, it is also something the universities has got to do a lot. Okay, got to do a lot. We need to convince the students that it is safe, the environment is supportive, and that they do get the experience and and the output that we promise to give them. So these are all the reason why quality is a main agenda, and that we need to compete to ensure that. Okay, All right, now some facts from Malaysia. All right, some facts from Malaysia. The number of Malaysian institution which is included in the university QS World Ranking has reached 20 universities in the year of 2020. One of the top 100, we have one university, University Malaya, okay, which is one, standing as one of the best university, 100 university. 4 in the top of 200 and even in the top of 500. So you can imagine these numbers must go high. It must go higher. It has to, we need to push it higher. So reports have shown that, in order for us to actually move forward, you need to have more and more activities with the industry. All right, with the industry to increase the quality among students. So quoting from some of the latest focus that we have in Malaysia, we have an example of industrial PhD. Of course, not just these two, it has been the university industry collaboration has always been the main agenda in Malaysia. Two of the latest focus that we have right now is an example would be industrial PhD, a My PhD industry, which aims at promoting the academic and scientific exchange and enhancing communication between the universities and industries. We encourage industry players to come and exchange their knowledge with our university members. And that convert it to become, some solutions, and that, as an industrial PhD. Or the most recent one that we have in University Utara Malaysia itself is 2U to I, a program where we have our students to, conduct 2 years at universities and another 2 years in the industry. UUM per se, we are having our first batch of students who is going to graduate under this program soon next year. All right, soon next year. So this is among the this is among the examples, all right, of university industry collaboration kind of activities that we have. Okay, however, based on the report of the 12 Malaysian plan, which strategize we strategize our plan between 2020 to 2035. All right, the report has shown that the university industrial collaboration is still very low, which means that it remains an undeveloped agenda. So the government of Malaysia is encouraging more and more universities and academicians to do research in this area to find ways and means, all right, how best can we actually improve the university industrial collaboration. Now, a little bit before I touch on open innovation is to look at innovation itself, all right? So we know that innovation has become a major ingredient to the country's economic stability, all right? And it is, especially in the world where competition is very high, we compete not just locally and globally, and it is almost impossible, all right? It is almost impossible that you see an organization to strive and succeed alone. So therefore, we need a more vibrant dimension of innovation, all right? Something that is more suitable to be called open innovation, all right? Where these open innovation demanded companies, to uplift their activities, all right, to sharing the research and development, to probably exchange and engage in some information and knowledge throughout the process of innovation. All right, that is on innovation. And then we have open innovation. I mentioned to you that this open innovation has been coined by Chesbrough in 2003. And the definition, the earlier definition of what Chesbrough has mentioned is open innovation refers to the use of inflows and outflows of knowledge. So it is very much about knowledge sharing. It is very much about knowledge activities. All right. And the reason of sharing this knowledge is to accelerate the innovation, is to accelerate the internal innovation, and expand this internal innovation to be used by the external market or external innovation. So we see that this can only be achieved, all right, that can only be achieved by collaborating with each other. Okay, so it emphasizes on the knowledge sharing, not just across organization industry players, but also to internal and external ideas and technologies for commercializations of innovation products, which makes it very suitable, all right, to the context of university and industrial collaboration. So we know that the definition of UIC or university industry collaboration has always been about the relationship, all right. And whenever we collaborated between the university industry, it is always about building value. We want to make sense of the knowledge that the universities recovers through their research and the findings, okay, and the facts that has been found by the organizations. Okay, so it is considered a fundamental innovation driver. Okay, so the partnership, which involves the exchange of resources, expertise, and techniques across cooperating partners, has actually become an important innovation strategy. Okay, so in other words, for universities to excel, for universities to ensure that the research that has been done over years, since the establishment of the university, has got to be materialized. And the only way of doing it is to get the people in charge, right, by at every sectors to be involved in the collaboration. And this is not easy. All right, is this not easy? All right, it involves a lot of this. It involves a lot of issues. It involves a lot of challenges. Okay, because it involves costs, right? Collaboration involves a high specific investments. All right, it is not cheap. I know that a lot of people in this room, in this conference, would agree to it. Okay, budget are being cut, and therefore it makes it more challenging to actually project which of this collaboration will actually give the right output that is needed. Normally prone to other issues, okay, because it leads to uncertainty. Collaborations leads to uncertainty based on, especially in the life that we are having now, in the time that we're having now, where everything is uncertain. We need to recover, and we need to recover fast to make sure that we are able to compete back again, for the future. So in other manner, we are saying that uncertainties are often related to the issues of risk and trust, right? These are the two things that is, closely related. If we say, when collaboration involves various parties, we know trust, especially if you're referring to theories such as social exchange theories, which discusses about trust a lot. Okay, so the readiness of partners, all right, the theory mentioned that the readiness of the partners to engage in the collaborative activities will depend on, the propensity of each parties to take risks and to trust their partners. Okay, now trust has actually been this study has actually looked at trust, okay, and highlight that trust can actually be discussed, okay, based on literature, especially in relation to collaborative network and open innovation. And trust in this manner, okay, can be discussed from various angles, okay. And the one that I'm putting up today is the four things that you see here. One is on the trust characteristics, okay. The second is on the performance of the open innovation itself. Third is on the organizational context, all right, and the fourth is on the IT parts, or the technical part, or information technology. Okay, like for instance, characteristics. Okay, these are some of the dimensions that people normally talk about. Trust characteristics. Trust can actually be discussed based on the types of trust, and we know that in past literatures, trust has been studied and discussed in a lot of ways, but specifically in open innovation, we can look at trust in the forms of knowledge-based trust, for instance. Why knowledge-based trust? Because open innovation is about knowledge sharing. Okay, so to understand trust in the context of open innovation, one has got to look at the knowledge-based trust, which involves the competence, the benevolence, and the integrity, how one party see the other parties. All right. Okay, and there are also some studies who mention trust, okay, in the eye of open innovation from the view of political trust and also expert trust. Who are you engaged with? How do you get your products to be marketed? How do you compete among other brands, for instance? Okay, and a lot more that you see here. This is one example, all right, on characteristics. The second dimension would be the performance, and performance, of course, has been discussed in various manner. But with regards to trust and open innovation, all right, we talk about how performance can be seen from the collaborating relationship, from the product design to market performance or commercializations. We have discussed, past literatures have also discussed open innovation performance from the TQM perspective, top management support, team members' commitment, and also innovation process. All this indicate, financial performance or non-financial performance that can very much measure how open innovation is being adopted with regards to collaboration with various parties. Okay, context-wise, okay, we have research has looked at trust, okay, from the governance framework, the behavior of the organization members, where trust has been studied between trusters and trustees. Okay, how do you set the agreement, okay, between parties? How do you build the trust environment around the organization? And these are some of the things. Okay, we have also discussed organizational change. These are some of the areas, and of course, these dimensions, sub-dimensions that comes under this has actually grown over years. I'm sure there are other studies that probably have discussed different contexts as well. Okay, and IT, and the fourth one, IT, all right. There's also a lot of sub-dimensions that you can talk about trust with regards to collaboration in open innovation. We have mentioned about uncertainties, effective communication, the mean to open innovation tools that we use, especially that we have now. I think when the emergence of IR 4.0 and also some digital advantages that we have, and we learn during the time of pandemic, will become an area that can also be studied upon. All right, when you look at trust in this context. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So in conclusion, I've come to the end actually. In conclusion, that companies must reach a high level performance in order to survive in the current competitive climate. Okay, we have no other reasons to hold back, and that we need to actually come forward and find ways, right, to make sure that we have all the tools to compete. All right. In a report by Time Higher Education and also Huawei, if you know one of the brand, all right, Huawei is one example of a company that have invested millions of dollars, okay, to do research with universities around the globe, all right, to ensure that we have all it takes to compete in this time. All right. And to satisfy the demands of competition, collaboration must is needed and has been proven to be a nucleus for rebuilding the economy from the COVID-19. Okay. With regards to the university industry collaboration, everybody involved should examine and learn partnership from the current situation and identify its strengths and weaknesses. Aside from trust, I'm sure you will also find, if you happen to read about open innovation, there has also been a discussion about how top management and cultures must be able to support the environment of open innovation. So top management from the respective collaborators, okay, must focus on building targeted social ties and interaction. So this is, this involve creating an atmosphere of trust and positive social pressure, enhance information sharing among academics and industry players. So I hope I have done some justice to open an eye, to tell everyone and to share with everyone the importance of the university industry collaboration, and that we probably have to learn more about open innovation to ensure that the collaboration will become successful. Okay, with that, I thank you and I look forward for questions later. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for your interesting presentation, Dr. Siti Doratisa. And then your presentation has shown that the triple helix, especially the collaboration between university and industry, run very well in Malaysia. But your presentation also give awareness that it is most impossible for us to get the successful launch. Rather, we need to make collaboration between among universities and also between universities and industry. And I believe that your presentation have given the new insight for us all here to make and to strengthen the collaboration between universities and the industrial. Thank you very much once again, Ms. Dr. Nora.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, finally, we have got the presentation of all our inviting speaker, and now we come to the next. It is the question and answer, or we call it discussion. It will be 40 minutes, and I invite you to type your question in chat room or maybe in the comment column. And I think we have gotten very much questions. And then let me check the question first. Yeah. All right. For the first, it is the question for Associate Professor Dr. Ali Meftah Girgit. It is the question from Suci Ramadhani from Universitas Negeri Padang. The question is, the study tried to examine the multi-layered gender diversity, but then findings stated that strongest women had driven the management. How consistent the result? And then why you have examined the multi-layer, but the result only women, right? I think I give the time for 5 minutes for Professor Dr. Ali Meftah to answer this question. Please, Professor Dr. Ali Meftah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ikra. Honestly, we examined multi-layered gender diversity. When we say multi-layered, we mean different levels of gender diversity. For example, the vast majority of previous studies were examining the impact of board-level gender diversity. In other words, female representation on corporate board of directors. In this study, we decided to have a comprehensive examination of the role of gender diversity within the organization on sustainability performance. So that's why we said we need to examine gender diversity on board of directors, gender diversity in senior management, and gender diversity in sub-boards. And we selected the sustainability or CSR committee. Okay, so that's why we decided to, because we needed to get the comprehensive understanding of the role of gender diversity within an organization in improving firms' sustainability performance in the hospitality and tourism sector. I hope I addressed the question effectively. If not, please don't hesitate to give me more clarification on your question, please.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Ali Meftah. And then for the second question, we have got from Mr. Muhammad Kusufi from Universitas Trunojoyo, Madura. It is the question for Associate Professor Dr. Zulfan Tajuddin. The question is, the study have tried to look into the pandemic COVID-19 effort, but it is still lack of the currently issue, especially in developing countries dominated from the SME sector, which is prevent can avoid inflation issues. And then sorry, I can read it. And the COVID outbreaks, what do you opinion about it? And then I think I will read all questions first. It is the first session of Q&A. So I'll move to the next question, and then I give time for our speaker to answer all the questions. And then the next question is for Assistant Professor Dr. Marwan from Inayatin Raini Dovi Putri from FEB UM. And then the question is, based on the research results stated that for Mbkm activities strengthen literacy and digital competencies, namely student exchange, internship, and research and independent studies. Explain why this is so. All right, it is for Assistant Professor Dr. Marwan, and the last one in the first session is for Dr. Nuratisah binti Muhammad Nafi. The question from Taufik Hidayah, FAUNP, and then the question is, public and private university have different structure and facilities. How come they can do the collaboration with the industry while even these are balancing among them? And then some of private universities are still face financial issues as impact of COVID-19 shock. Then do you have any idea or deal with effective solution in this issue? All right. And I think it is the full question in the first session of Q&A. And then please, Professor Dr. Tajuddin, Dr. Marwan, and also Dr. Nora, time for use, please. For the first one, I invite Dr. Tajuddin to answer the question, please.
Thank you. If I remember the questions correctly, the question assumed that my presentations was about responding to COVID recovery, look into the pandemic COVID effort. No, it is not. So the paper has nothing to do with the COVID. The study was looking at the internal dynamism of provinces in Indonesia in the 5 data points of the all available interregional input-output data, 1995, 2000, 2005, 2010, and 2016. So this is a kind of medium-term assessment on the how spread was the economic activities of each and every provinces in Indonesia in their interactions with other regions. And then we summarize that one at the country level. And then we have the index of dynamism for each year for the 5 data point. And then we look at the trend and then we try to understand that one. So this is nothing to do with the discussions of inflations. This is nothing to do with the COVID recovery. This is about the medium-term trend of reindustrializing the economy. So I think I just need to clarify what the presentation is about and what the presentation is not about. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the explanation, Dr. Tajuddin. And then I invite Assistant Professor Dr. Marwan for the question. Please, Dr. Marwan.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Eka, and thank you for Inaya. Good question. Student exchange activities, internship, and research, and also independent studies, Mbkm activities that strengthen literacy and digital competencies. Because through Mbkm activities, students participate in activities with partners who are competent in their field. Moreover, the exchange of students to foreign campus such as the international Indonesia International Student Mobility Program will certainly improve student digital literacy and competency because they study at quality campus in other countries such as America, the other countries. Internship and independent studies also involve partners in the form of companies of institutions that have been established. So the implementation of activities has an orderly process and measurable goals and high standard of activity implementation. And the last, research activities also require students to have good literacy and digital skills, so that students continue to improve their competencies to carry out Mbkm activities. I think my answer, Bu Eka, Bu Dr. Eka. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Marwan. And the last question is for Dr. Siti Nuratisa. Please, Dr. Nora.
Okay, hi. I see there are two questions here, right? Now, given the fact that public and private universities have different goals, okay, how does these two universities, ensure that how can they come to the collaboration with the industries while even, financials, they're having problems with resources, okay, at their own university. Exactly, Taufik, exactly, Taufik. Research has also shown that culture plays a very important part in succeeding, in making sure that collaboration succeed. And we know that, being public and private universities have different goals. And, the culture itself has different values, they have different priorities. But the stand is this, the stand is, competition is something that you cannot put on hold. You cannot put, halt, because you need to move forward. As you move forward, there's no other means of doing so, okay, rather than to make sure that you stand taller than your competitors. So to do that, learning from what Malaysia is doing, or University Utara Malaysia in particular is doing, we pool our resources together. We dig and dive together. All right, and we make sure that we go through the best means, okay. And if collaborating means exchanging ideas, and ideas that we exchange means creating a more quality knowledge, all right, that will make a community or people around successful, all right, then we will go for it. We'll find means and ways, in order to make sure that the collaboration works, right? That's number one. Yes, some of the private universities are still facing financial issues after the impact of COVID-19. Let me tell you, not just the private universities, the public universities, I think, suffer as much. Okay, we suffer as much. And do you have any idea on how to deal with effective solution? Now, one thing that I can tell you, I am also, we are also part of the victims here. Okay, so we are all working together. We are all working together. We find means. We have roundtable discussions. We have we make research. We actually conduct research to find ideas on how best we can do this. Okay, I'm sure you have heard about models such as triple helix, quadruple helix, which is has been proven to be working in the context of university and industrial collaboration. So we do this in small scale, all right, and of course, if we find grants that is suitable, we'll do it in a bigger scale. But like I said, we dig and dive together, but competition is something that you cannot put on hold. You have to move forward. So we have to find means and ways to actually find a solution to it. All right, that will be it, Taufik, from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nora. Yes, I'm going with you that all university, private or public universities, suffer for this condition of pandemic-19. Okay, right. And then, ladies and gentlemen, we move to the second session of Q&A. And then I have this, there are so many questions come that indicate that presentation is very, very interesting. And then in the second session, the first question is for Associate Professor Dr. Alimef Tahgirgit. The question is from Chandrianto, Universitas Negeri Padang. And then the question is on your research finding proposed that women are community-oriented and philanthropically driven when they lead the hospitality and tourism firm, and how this condition affect the performance of the organization. It is the question for Dr. Ali. And then the next question is for Dr. Zulfan Tajuddin from a student from the Multi-Rusa from Universitas Negeri Padang. And then the question is, based on the findings, what is the most binding constraint to develop less developed region in Indonesia? All right, this interesting question. All right, and then the next one is from Tessa Ali Rafibi from SCIA Perdagangan. The question is for Assistant Professor Dr. Marwan. The question is, what benefit do students get when they join the Mbkm program? Also, okay, this is the question. Quite clear. And then the next question, it is the last question for the second session. For Dr. Nora Tisah binti Muhammad Nafi, the question is, build the collaboration between higher education has some issues, especially how each institution take mutualism cooperation. They should take the risk and trust the partners. Then what are your advice regarding to get the good cooperation between higher education institutions? All right, I have read 4 questions for the second session. And then I invite Dr. Ali, and then, yeah, please, Dr. Ali.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ikra, and thanks for this question. This question, I mean, with regards to our findings says that women on boards, okay, are philanthropically driven and community oriented. This means that when it comes, I mean, women's responsibilities and you know, let's say positions that they hold within the organization can affect their sustainability orientation. When we say women on board, we can have executive women, we can have non-executive women. The findings of our study says non-executive women on board are more community-oriented and philanthropically driven. What do we mean by this? They support their company's engagement in sustainability practices. They would like to protect the environment and push their companies towards delivering positive values to their communities and enhancing well-functioning societies. But when it comes to management position or female executives, okay, look, now we have a different sort of responsibility and role women can play. So when it comes to female managers, they are more profit-driven and shareholder-oriented. How we explain this difference in the role played by women at different managerial levels within the organization and its influence on sustainability, we influence that. Okay, female directors can be stakeholder driven. They can protect the interests of the wider group of stakeholders and respond to their needs to protect the environment and advance well-functioning societies. However, women in management, they are influenced by the traditional role of managers, okay, which is mainly to maximize shareholders' profits. I hope you addressed the question effectively.
Okay, thank you very much for your explanation, as Professor Dr. Ali. And then I invite the next for Professor Dr. Zulfan Tajuddin. Please, Dr. Zulfan.
Yes. This one, right? Based on the findings, what is the most binding constraint to develop the least developed regions in Indonesia? Probably the way to see this question is more of looking at the less dynamic region. And then I showed there 3 provinces can very contrast with the rest of the province in terms of how less dynamic they are. I put there 3 provinces: West Sumatra, Bengkulu, and Gorontalo. So partly you can see the geography is important there. West Sumatra and Bengkulu are the 2 provinces that only have access to the Indian Oceans. They have no access to the other side of the island, to the Malacca Strait, to the more other regions in Indonesia are located. So partly this is about geography. So that's why, from that perspective, by having infrastructure, by having more initiative, better policies to dynamize the economy, to somehow challenge the curse of geography. So for the Bengkulu, the option is to open the area to Lampung, to South Sumatra, and to West Sumatra in the north, and for West Sumatra to open that one to Riau, to Jambi, and to other regions. So meaning that they need infrastructure, they need connections, connectivity. So that's one dimension that can be think of. It can be thought of. So, and then the next one is anything that create the export of the region to other regions, and anything that create more demand from the regions to other regions. So there is no single or simple way of to do this one. So the policy should be more broad-based. So if you ask me about the binding constraints, one is geography, and the second one that would be about the nature of the economy. If the economy is not dynamic, say, for example, the economy stuck in the small-scale farming, the less modern economic, low value-added activities. So the question is how to shift the gear, how to trigger a more dynamic economic activities. So this is another kind of the discussions about the regional economic development. But in terms of the dynamism, you can link the dynamism with geography. And then the next one is the connectivity. So I think that's a quick response to this one. But I saw also one question from the Q&A for me. I don't know whether that will be displayed also, so I can address it one too.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Zulfan Tajuddin. So I noticed some point from your explanation is dealing with the geography problem, and then the connectivity from the one province with the other is the point, is a very important point. And also we should pay attention to the demand, how to pull the demand. I think it is that I can note it from your answer. And then thank you very much once again, Professor Dr. Zulfantajuddin. And then the next one, I invite Assistant Professor Dr. Marwan. Please, Dr. Marwan.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Eka. Thank you for Tessa. Yeah, good question. What benefit do students get when they join to the Mbkm programs? A student who take part in Mbkm activities will have an off-campus learning experience. Student can gain hands-on experience in the world of work according to the Mbkm program they choose. For example, a student would take part in the teaching assistant activities. They get direct experience teaching at the partner school so that they grow their skill to become professional teachers and have digital, numerical, and technological competencies. A student who take part in Mbkm activities in the form of internship will gain experience working in partner industries. So they will get real experience in the real world of work, which explores their potential and demand their competencies that super work in the world of work. The last, the Mbkm activity will improve student skill to be able to work after they graduate from college. And addition, Mbkm activities carried out by the ministry will provide benefit, other benefit in the form of incentive for student and free tuition fees. I think Mbkm have benefit, like build student competency, and also have benefit like incentive, for student, like free tuition fees or living fee. I think enough, Boyka. Thank you. Still mute.
Sorry. Okay, thank you very much for the explanation, Dr. Marwan. And then we move to the next question. I invite Dr. Siti Nuratisa for the question. Please, Dr. Nora.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ika. Thank you also, Fitri, for asking me this question. Now, we were talking, you are putting out the point of mutualism cooperation. I think, it's like a fair view to say that you can never reach a mutual cooperation, for the reason being, we have different priorities, the universities and the industrial, we have different priorities which cannot be balanced, which cannot be, referred to as equal to both sides. However, we like to use the term win-win situation. So you gain something, you win something, you probably lose something as well. All right. But along the way, we try to maximize the relationship. We try to actually leverage, so that we reach the optimum level of the relationship. The reason why I believe that there will never be a mutual cooperation because of the different priorities that we have. Okay, of course, you are being governed by, you have always been governed by joint research agreement. Like in the case of UUM, we have a memorandum of understandings, memorandum of agreements. We have all these documentation to actually govern the exchange of ideas and stuff, but studies has also proven that there are a lot of barriers between the academician and the industrial people, right? The academician, for instance, we, as the academician, I think you would agree with me, we always have time management issues, because we juggle between a lot of responsibilities that we have as a lecturer, as an academician. We probably also have the trouble of which actually indicates that we would have challenge to control communicating, coordination between parties. The industrial the industrial people, we have difficulties in terms of the industrial might want something that is fast, that is fixed. They want an answer to it. They want a specific, we got to work between a specific of time because of their constraint and stuff. So these being said, has actually is actually proven to say that we can never have a mutual cooperation or a balanced cooperation. I'm sure that along the way we do have to sacrifice some within the cooperation. Okay, right. So, what is your advice regarding to get good cooperation between higher education institution? Like I said just now, we have to discuss, and we probably will not be able to get 100% out of it, but we optimize. Okay, we optimize so that because we know, like the industrial, the people they work with and they deal with day to day how should I say, the day-to-day matters or day-to-day urgencies. So sometimes theories or findings that we have from our research is not able to be the solution to a day-to-day activity, so it requires time. Okay, so the best is to optimum, the best is to actually to make sure that both parties receive something from the cooperation. I hope I answered that, Fitri. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Nora. Ladies and gentlemen, we come to the third session for the question and answer. We have some questions. Maybe my colleague will send the question. Vicky. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we can notice that so many questions come to our Q&A session, and now we come to the third session. There are 4 questions again. For the first one is for Associate Professor Dr. Ali Meftah Gerget from Karina Niza Mefit from University of Indonesia. The question is, as we know, in some organizations, men are dominantly to be the leader. In our stereotype, women cannot lead organization better than men. What is your opinion about that? That's a good, interesting question. Yeah, it is dealing with the cultural, I think. Okay, it's a very good question. And then the next one is for Associate Professor Dr. Zulfan Tajuddin. The question from Mr. Doni Satria from Universitas Negeri Padang. The question is, how about the current commodity price booms? Is it challenges or opportunities for Indonesian reindustrialization? Right. And then the next question for Assistant Professor Dr. Marwan from Eni Andriawati from University of Jambi. And then the question is, what MBKM program are mostly followed by UNP students, and how does it relate to improving the competency of graduates? All right, the interesting question, Chair, I think. And then the fourth one is for Dr. Nora. The question comes from Ms. Fitri Ningsih from Universitas Negeri Padang. The question is, can you give an example of one of the university industry collaboration activities on your campus, and in the form of the exchange of resources, expertise, and techniques that have been created? All right, I think it is the 4 questions for the third session. And then for the fifth, I invite Associate Professor Dr. Ali Meftah. Hello, Professor Ali.
Hello, Dr. Ikra. Well, this is an interesting question, actually. I think, when it comes to sustainability, having more women in leadership positions, especially, when we talk about boards and sub-boards, can enhance sustainability. So the question says, women can't lead organization better than men. In my opinion, no, women can lead organizations, I mean, equivalent to men and sometimes better than men. Because, as I said, when it comes to sustainability, women's characteristics, I mean, they have the caring attitude towards, the community and the environment. So women are more keen on undertaking more sustainability engagement. When we say women in the management position, our study says, well, women are influenced by the role that they are taken in the organization. Okay, so if they are managers, so they will be like they got a kind of the main mindset, and they will try to focus on shareholder wealth maximization. But when women, take other roles and responsibilities like non-executive directors, like members of sustainability committees, given their characteristics, their personal characteristics, the caring style of women, they will try to be more engaged in sustainability practices. I hope I addressed the question appropriately.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Ali. I have noted some point from your question that the women have the special characteristic to give them more emphasis to protect their community and environment. Yeah, it is the point that I get, and then so we move to the next question. I invite Associate Professor Dr. Zulfan Tajuddin. Please, Dr. Zulfan.
Thank you. I think this is very important questions about commodity booms or commodity price booms. As you know that Indonesia now has been very well known for #1 producer of nickel and oil palm. So commodity booms is exogenous factor. Nothing we can do about that one. If you have boom, you have boom. If you have the lower price of commodity, what can you do? But the principle is we should not just surrender to the exogenous factor. So that's why a country will need to have economic policy to play and then to handle the exogenous factors. So between 2000 and 2011, the previous commodity booms, and many said that Indonesia has wasted the opportunity. During the commodity boom, what happened was the process of deindustrializations, the rise in inequality, and at the same time, Indonesia is not really gaining out of that commodity boom. Now, probably we are going to see that one again. So probably what should happen is a country should ride the wave rather than being swamped by the wave. So commodity boom is another kind of wave, exogenous. We have to play with that one. So what should to be done is, this is a challenge and opportunity. So if you think of the price of nickel is good now, say for example, you can sell it straight away, get the foreign exchange, the what is that? The foreign
devisa.
Devisa. What is devisa in English? What that one already? Yeah. But that's if you are thinking in short-sighted manner. But if you think of the medium and long term, if you can build, if the country can build industry, capitalizing the resource characteristics, you can imagine the value added can be kept within the country, employment will be created, the absorption of technology investment will be created. You can imagine how good the country will be. if that kind of thing. So that's why reindustrialization should look at the comparative advantage. So it doesn't mean that we reject totally the theory of comparative advantage, but if we surrender totally to the theory of comparative advantage, a country will start at the lower level, but it has to be using the comparative advantage with a visions of reindustrializations. And regions in Indonesia have their own comparative advantage in terms of locations, in terms of human capital, in terms of natural resources. So that's the task of economic policy, to harness that kind of thing. So I think this is very interesting discussions and very much open-ended discussion at this stage. And no one is this is something that this country, Indonesia, will have a very clear challenge for the future. Thank you very much for posting these questions. I'm happy to hear this kind of questions.
Okay, thank you very much for the answer and for the explanation, Dr. Zulfantajuddin. The question is from the chairman of the conference, Mr. Doni Satria. All right, and I'm going with you that it needs the cutoff here between to say it challenge or it is opportunity about the booming of the commodity price today, because and then some point that I got from your explanation is what is the national agenda is, right? The next is the question, and then I invite Dr. Marwan. Please, Dr. Marwan.
Thank you, Dr. Reka. Thank you. What MBKM programs are mostly followed by UNP students, and how does it relate to improving the competence of graduates? Good question. The MBKM program that many UNP students participate in, like teaching assistants, like Kampus Mengajar program, and student exchange, like pertukaran mahasiswa Nusantara, international Indonesia International Student Mobility, and also new program Indonesia International Vocational Student Mobility, and then certified internship like magang bersertifikat. So there are 3 programs that many UNP students participate in Mbkm activities. Teaching assistant, student exchange, and certified internship are Mbkm activities carried out by the ministry. The activities participate by the student were very relevant to the core competency of students, so that they really support development of student competencies. Teaching assistants activities that encourage students to have literacy, numeracy, and technology competencies, and implement them at partner educational institutions, strengthen the competency of graduates to become professional teachers in the future. And the certified internship activities that are carried out also encourage the growth of student competencies in the world of work, so that they are ready to work for high quality companies. I think enough, Bu Eka. Yeah, kasih. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Marwan. So your answer has implied that the MBKM program is strengthen the competence of graduate from through the internship and so on. Right. And the last question for this session is for Dr. Nora. Please, Dr. Nora.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, question from Ms. Fitri. Yeah? Okay, can you give an example of the UIC activities on your campus? I'll probably highlight 2U2I because, I'm very much involved with the formation of 2U2I program in the School of Business Management. All right, this 2U2I program is, as I mentioned earlier, is a program where 2 years students will have the training in the universities, and the final 2 years they are being placed at industries. At industries. We choose the students right from interview. All right, we identify their interests, and based on their interests, we then segregate them. All right, we divide them into groups, all right, of respective industries, and then we select academic mentors and industrial mentors specifically to train these students. All right, so 2 years in the university, they'll be working closely via a very well developed module. All right, we have boot camps, we have a lot of activities which involve the industrial and also the academician, where the industry people will actually come to university and to teach the students, okay, some basic, business, and also what it takes to become an entrepreneur. All right, and 2 years, the final 2 years, the students will be placed to the with their industrial mentors at the respective industries. Prior to selecting the industrial mentors, we scout the industrial player, all right, based on the need areas, all right, the need areas, and then we have agreement based on documentations, to govern our student, to make sure that our students will actually we can actually produce what the program aim at producing, and that is we're looking at job creator instead of job seeker. So we want our students to at least be able to become an entrepreneur of their own, and create job to help others as well. So 2 years in the industries, they are also having they will be trained via a well-developed module, which is actually co-developed by the academician and the industrial players. And through this, the student will be able to have a full 2 years, not just internship, but also a dwell, where the students actually dwell and deep their head into doing what they are needed to do as an actual entrepreneur. So this is one example that we have. Our first batch is around 20 students, all right, and they are about to graduate, and they are now in the industry and at their final steps. All right. So that is it. Of course, we do have a lot of other joint ventures activities with the industry, where our students are being sent to the industry, for internship. We also have lecturers, we call it LISA. LISA is a training latihan industry, latihan industry bagi pensyarah, where our lecturers are being placed in the industry for for 1 year duration. 1 year to 1 year and a half duration, and they are engaged, to help the industry. And we have had multiple IPs being created during this kind of project. And of course, we have many more, Fitri. If you are interested, you're always welcome to look at our website or contact me. We can discuss about it. All right. Thank you very much. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Dr. Nora. And then, ladies and gentlemen, we noticed that so many questions come to our chat column, and also from the YouTube live streaming, we have many questions too. And then we come for the last session for this question and answer. My colleague will share the screen about the question and all the question. Also, there are 4 questions for our speaker. Please, Vicky. So many questions come, and it indicates that their presentation attract so abundant attention from our audience. All right, this is the 4th session. The question for Assistant Professor Dr. Marwan is come from Ulfa Ramadhani from Universitas Negeri Padang. Then the question is, Mbkm provide many new opportunities for potential that have not had a place for them. However, the challenges should be seen from 2 sides, especially lecturer and students. In your opinion, had it been balanced, especially facilities and all procedures? If not, what is the ideal solution? And then the next one is the question for moment. Yeah, this is the question for Dr. Nuratisa again from Ms. Rani Suraya from Universitas Negeri Padang. Then the question is, from the collaboration process carried out between the university industry, it will be possible to identify the weakness of the learning process that has been implemented. Can you tell us example of the identified weakness in the collaboration process carried out between the university industry on your campus, which is the material for improvement in the learning process carried out? All right, we have two questions, and then maybe we have still the others. No, for this moment we have two questions for the last session. Okay, I invite Dr. Marwan first, and then Dr. Siti Nora Tisa. Okay, please, Dr. Marwan. Dr. Marwan.
Okay. Thank you, Bu Eka. The last question, I think, yeah. Okay, Ulfa Rahmadani, yeah, thank you. I agree with your opinion, yeah. The challenge should be seen from two sides, especially lecturers and students, yeah. So I present about what challenge from students, yeah. How to improve students' awareness about lack of digital skill, yeah, to work in the future, yes. And so the challenge from lectures, yeah, jadi like penolakan, ya, misalnya, or some lecture maybe they want to know what the Mbkm program, yeah, but or the some lecture lack information about Mbkm program, yeah, so they will not to motivate their student to join to Mbkm program, yeah. Okay, so I think, yeah, about facilities and procedure, yeah, I think it's the challenge, yeah, also the challenge to implementation of Mbkm program, yeah. But we believe, yeah, Mbkm program can strengthen graduate competencies to work the future, yeah. I think the problem will be solved, yeah, to collaboration about universities, ministry, the lecturer, the student, and also industries, yeah, maybe. I think enough, Bu Eka. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Yeah.
Dr. Marwan. And then for the last one, we invite Dr. Siti Nuratisa. Please, Dr. Nora.
All right, thank you. Thank you for the question coming from Ms. Rani. Okay, I'm trying to understand, correct me if I'm wrong, okay? I think the question asked me to spot what are the identified weaknesses, of the collaboration process, yeah, during it, and if there is any of these identified weaknesses, what are they, and what are the measures that has been carried out, I guess, by University Utara Malaysia, UUM, okay, where the material for improvement in the learning process, how are these, I'm sure it means that, how are these weaknesses being tackled, right? I think generally it wouldn't be fair to say that, what UUM is facing is probably, different from what other universities are facing. I'm sure we do face almost the same issues across the globe, actually, when it comes to the university and industry collaboration weaknesses. Right, as I mentioned earlier, I think when answering the questions, a lot of previous studies have identified various barriers which is actually coming from the difference in terms of culture, in terms of the target, the strategy, and so on and so forth. Okay, but aside from that, I think we should also be looking at again, going back into the trust issue. I think you may recall that I mentioned, trust has been studied in various ways. One of it is in terms of the characteristics, and if you look into the characteristics of trust, there's of course a lot of ways on how trust are being characterized. One of it is when they characterize as being political trust. Okay, and in terms of that, the industry has always seen the academician in the context of UIC. Industry will actually see academician as someone who is not able to perform a research that is at a certain level. We are probably basing our research based on theories, and the industrial people will not want something that someone that can just only talk the talk but also walk the talk, for instance. Okay, so a breach between these different aims, different aims will always be the weaknesses that needs to be further improvised in the collaboration. And trust, I'm sure, Rani, if you happen to look into the characteristic of trust, they have various types of characteristics that refers to how we see the other partners. Okay, in terms of can they actually deliver what have been promised, and these perceptions will hinder how we actually see the other party. So that is, I think, some general weaknesses that we should find in almost every university and industry collaboration. Okay, all right, thank you, Rani. Thank you, Dr. Ika.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Nora, for your answer. And then, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the Q&A session. And then actually we have still many questions come to our chat room, but unfortunately we cannot read all of them. And then due to the limitation of time that the committee provide for this session, I should end this session. Before closing this plenary session, let me, as the moderator today, say thank you very much for the great presentation of our invited speaker, and then thank you very much for the joining of our honorable guests, and then also from all our university member, and then all participants. Thank you very much for your wonderful participation today, and we are looking forward to have the next collaboration with you in the next PICEEBA. It is the 10th PICEEBA. It's about in November 2022. All right. Once again, we say thank you very much, and then see you again at the next PICEEBA. All right. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bye bye.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you so much.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Yeah. And the next, I give again to Mr. Hari.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Please, Mr. Hari.
Okay, thank you for Assistant Professor Dr. Eka Fauzi Hardani, and let we give applause for our moderator and all invited speakers. Okay, the next agenda, the closing speech by Vice Dean for Planning, Public and Finance, Faculty of Economics, Universitas Negeri Padang, Associate Professor Dr. Abror. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Hari. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Honorable Rector and Vice Rectors of Universitas Negeri Padang, Deans and Vice Deans of Faculties in Universitas Negeri Padang, all distinguished invited speakers, Associate Professor Dr. Zulfan Tajuddin, Associate Professor Dr. Ali Gerget, Associate Professor Dr. Marwan, and Associate Professor Dr. Noratisah binti Nafi. Honorable guests and all participants of the 9th PICEEBA 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, all praises to Allah who has given us time, health, and opportunity to join this conference. Salawat and salam to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, who has brought us to this religion or deen. First of all, I would like to thank to our speakers for sharing in this conference, and also to all participants who have enlightened us with your research presentation, especially for the invited speakers for Associate Professor Dr. Zulfan. Pak Zulfan is not what they call that. He is orang awak, yeah. And it is our great honor to invite you here to be the speaker in our conference right now. And also to Associate Professor Dr. Ali Gerget. He is one of my friends in University of Huddersfield. Yeah, it is great for me to invite you, for us to invite you. Yeah, thank you very much for your time. We know that you are so busy, but you still allocate your time for us here to give some and enlighten for us in Universitas Negeri Padang. And next to Associate Professor Dr. Marwan as the Vice Dean of Universitas Negeri Padang, and thank you for your presentation. And last but not least, for Dr. Noratisa binti Matnafi. She is not new in our university, because we have a collaboration with UUM since, I think, since 2009, I think. The first time, because I involved that in that program from the first time with Kak Nora, with Dr. Nora for the dual degree program. Honorable guests and all participants of the 9th PICEEBA 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, all praises to Allah. Oh, sorry. We hope we can get more knowledge from the conference and opportunities to collaborate and share our research in the future will be open. And as Dr. Ali and also Dr. Zulfan and also Dr. Noratisa said, maybe collaboration between UNP, between Universitas Negeri Padang with the Western Sydney University, with the Montfort University, and also with UUM, will we will conduct that collaboration in the future. We hope we can do joint research, joint publication, and maybe joint conference also for the next time. On behalf of the Dean of Faculty of Economics, Universitas Negeri Padang, I would like to close this conference by saying Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. The 9th PICEEBA 2022 is formally closed. Thank you very much for your participation. I hope you enjoy this conference and looking forward in the 10th PICEEBA, I hope in November in 2022, because we always do this conference twice a year. And finally, special thanks to all organizing committee members who have tried your best to manage this event. And we did our 9th PICEEBA in the smooth conducting conference. Thank you very much. That's all. Billahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
wabarakatuh.
This is the end of the opening ceremony. We are thankful for all guests and the participants for attention of this ceremony. According to the agenda, presentation will be start at 1:30 p.m. And for the information of the presentation already shared on the WhatsApp group of presenter and author. See you in the next event of PICEEBA. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor
Thank you,
Dr.
Pak
Ali.
Zulfan.
Thank you so much,
Pak
Dr.
Zulfan.
Ali.
Thank
Dr.
you,
Nuratisa.
Dr. Nora, Dr. Marwan, and all
Yeah, Bu Eka.
our guests today.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. See you
Thank you,
again in the
Pak
next
Ali.
conference.
Hope to
Thank
see
you so
you
much.
all in Padang. Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
wait.
yeah.
We wait for
We
you,
are
and
waiting
we
for
will
you.
welcoming you.
Yeah.
Okay.
We hope.
Okay.
We hope Vice Deans allocate their budget.
Yeah. No, normal.
Okay.
Previously we did it. But because of the COVID only. Yeah.
Start off with coming to
Hopefully next.
Malaysia.
Yeah.
It's a nice idea.
Thank you.
It's a
Yeah.
nice idea.
Okay.
Right.